Welcome to America Uncanceled. I'm Mercedes Schlapp. Well, CPAC is going international again. Today, we head to CPAC Mexico in Mexico City, where we will be joined by a dynamic lineup of conservative speakers, including Eduardo Verástegui, former Ambassador Rick Grenell, Sarah Carter, and many other amazing patriots coming from across the globe because we're there to fight back against the leftist radical agenda that's impacting not only here in America, but in Latin America as well. But before we take off, there's a lot of news happening, especially on Capitol Hill, where Kevin McCarthy is set to become the next Speaker of the House. So we did accomplish our goal of firing Pelosi and saving America, and you all are part of this success. But there's a lot more to be done. We know that the House Republicans, well, their first order of business is announcing a full investigation into the Biden crime family. And the House Republican majority, well, they have a strong message for woke corporations: get out of politics. Well, let's bring in Bill Walton, board member and host of the Bill Walton Show, where we will discuss this and much more. Bill, thanks for joining me.
Mercy, good, great talking with you.
Great talking with you too. Well, before I go into what's happening on Capitol Hill, I do want to address what we're seeing happening in Elon Musk world. People are so fascinated by him as he's taken over Twitter. He literally sent out a message to the Twitter employees, basically giving them a deadline of Thursday, saying, quote, do extremely hardcore work or get out. What do you say? I mean, you were a former CEO, you worked in Wall Street. What do you say to Elon Musk's message? Is this exactly what these employees should hear?
Well, as a recovering CEO, it's a message I wish I could have delivered time and time again. It doesn't usually work that well, though, because people don't like to hear that. But let's be clear. Twitter was notoriously overstaffed, wildly overstaffed, cushy place to work, and they had every single perk in the world, special teas and safe rooms and all the sort of things that generation of tech employees would love. And so now somebody's asking him to actually do something. And I think it's such a breath of fresh air. Whether it'll work with these people or whether he's going to have to find some new people to come in who are ready, willing, and able to work is an interesting question. I think he's going to get some turnover, but that's probably the kind of turnover he's hoping to get.
Yeah, well, I think one of the more interesting things that I've watched is he's literally firing people, and it's all coming out on Twitter. It's almost like you're seeing a reality show in watching how this company is being transformed. I mean, is that just like an abnormal behavior coming out of a company?
I think it's genius behavior. It's absolutely abnormal. But on the other hand, he's in the entertainment business.
Yes.
And we want to get people, basically we're all in the business of getting people's time and attention, and you want to get people back to Twitter. Well, it's a different regime now. And I think the sort of thing he's doing is attractive to a lot of people like me that says, well, if Elon's doing that, maybe I'm going to trust Twitter somewhat more and use it more. So it could be genius marketing, which he's pretty good at.
Let me ask you, though, because we have seen, for example, many of these advertisers pull out of Twitter. Basically, you've seen VW, Audi, GM. So a number of these companies saying we're not going to go in this direction, which I think goes completely against what Elon is trying to push, which is this message of freedom of speech and not censorship. Where do you think will that have a huge impact on Twitter moving forward? Short term,
but these people always come back. I mean, they're in the business of selling cars or selling goods and services, and they need an outlet. And if they think Twitter helps them get that, they're gonna come back. These people are ultimately economic actors. Right. They have to be. So it's really too soon to tell how damaging that is, but it just depends on how much he has tucked away to get through this tough time. I'm sure he probably expected something exactly like this.
Let me ask you, because you're seeing Amazon lay off workers, Facebook laying off workers. there's a definitely an effect happening with where we are in the economy today. Inflation, we're seeing your Thanksgiving dinner where the prices of all your food items have rise exponentially, and American families are really struggling to pay the bills. Where do you see the economy as it is today? What do you think can be done to even get us to a point where, food prices, gas prices become affordable once again?
Well, the thing about, this is what happened in Washington with the 5, 6, 7 trillion, who's counting spending bills that we couldn't pay for, and basically financed entirely by the Federal Reserve printing money. That's come home to roost. And one account, I was just talking to Jeffrey Tucker, it's almost $9,000 per American household that's been stolen from them by inflation.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, that's affecting everybody's shopping. You take a look at the price, you put it back in the cart. But the problem is the Federal Reserve thinks they've got to kill the economy in order to get inflation out of it. Then they should be thinking in just the opposite way. Policymakers ought to be thinking about growing the economy, getting us back into the fossil fuel business, drilling, making America independent. That's the way to fix the inflation issue. It's not by shutting down the economy. And I fear, once again, we've got 2 more years of very bad policy making out of the Biden administration. So, hold on, fasten your seatbelt. This ride's going to continue to be bumpy.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be the case. I think you've also seen Joe Biden, you talk about energy independence, where he's saying his focus is to close every single coal plant in America, really not providing too many alternatives when it comes to energy independence.
In the meantime, China's building a coal plant every week.
Gosh, yes, that is right. That is right. And let's talk about the China factor as well, because we know President Biden just had a meeting with President Xi. There's been a lot of mixed reviews coming out of that meeting where the president's basically saying, oh, yeah, China's not going to attack Taiwan. It seemed like from a diplomacy standpoint, we didn't get too much out of that meeting. No. What were your thoughts on that in terms of especially how China's playing this role in just expanding their economy and really, putting America in a tough position?
Well, China used to have a strategy under Deng called abide and hide, where they would not reveal their true agenda. I think that's the way they approach every negotiation or every meeting with somebody like Biden. I mean, Biden in particular, they can read the man and know he's not capable of delivering anything that he tells them. So right. I think they're just, they're just waiting this thing out, and I expect Biden got nothing coming away from that meeting. But why would we think that? I mean, we had a guy named Trump who was pretty good at making them toe the line. The last thing in the world they'd want is somebody like Trump coming back in to protect Americans from China's predations. Right.
Well, we saw Trump give a speech this week announcing his presidential run. Let's just play a clip from his announcement.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and my fellow citizens, America's comeback starts right now.
Your thoughts on the president's announcement this week, Bill?
Well, I thought the speech itself was quite good. It was almost like a State of the Union address. He stayed on script and said smart things, and he talked about inflation in the right way. He talked about even with the election thing, which we've been concerned he's spending too much time on, he had a simple solution. People show up on the same day, vote show their ID and vote
right.
with a paper ballot, and require we get this thing counted that night.
Yeah.
If Brazil can do that, so can we.
Yeah.
And so I think he's talking about it in the right way in terms of solutions. And I think if he could stay on that script, he would, he could win.
Well, that obviously we saw a House majority turning red, where it's a Republican majority now. Very exciting news. Kevin McCarthy basically elected as Speaker of the House. I think someone who's been effective in turning. We saw at least 6 of these Democrat incumbent seats turn Republican, which we wanted obviously a much bigger red wave, but at least we get the majority, but it's going to be hard to govern right now. But it looks like, Bill, that they're honing in on the House investigation on the Biden crime family. I want to play a clip on that.
The President of the United States and why he lied to the American people about his knowledge and participation in his family's international business schemes. In the 118th Congress, this committee will evaluate the status of Joe Biden's relationship with his family's foreign partners and whether he is a president who is compromised or swayed by foreign dollars and influence. I want to be clear. This is an investigation of Joe Biden, and that's where the committee will focus in this next Congress.
So as we're looking at the House majority, they're going to hone in, I think, not only on these investigations, but how do we tackle inflation, which I think is going to be a priority as well. Your thoughts just in general, like, do you think this is a good use of the House majority's time?
Well, my normal answer is, CEO type is, we ought to focus on the more important issues. But I don't think there is a more important issue than Hunter Biden's laptop.
Right.
I don't think there is a more important issue that was hidden from the American public when we voted in 2020. And I don't think there's a more important issue than what are the Biden family ties to China. And if they're fatally compromised in that regard, America has a national security problem, and that is the heart of the matter, and it is center stage, and it is where we should focus. Great
point. I also know that the House majority, their Republican House majority, is saying, okay, woke companies, big business, we want you out of politics. CPAC and you have been obviously very much a part of sending this message to the Republican House leaders. Why is this important to address these issues of woke companies and basically telling them, look, we're gonna hold you in check here. You got to be accountable because of the fact that you are not serving your customer base.
Well, I think I think that the marketplace, the stock market, the market for products and services, which is in the tank or will be going into the tank, I think, is going to be the discipline these big corporations need, and I think they're going to pay attention to it. If you look at environmental, social, governance, those are the three words that ECG is about. Environmental, everybody knows that investing in wind and solar requires massive trillion-dollar subsidies. It's not economic, and so if you're measuring return on capital, it's a lousy place to spend your resources. You look at the social piece. Corporations have thousands, tens of thousands of people in the diversity business inside these places. They're all overhead. They're not doing anything productive. And so they've layered in all those costs. And if you're looking at cost, your CEO, you're saying, well, maybe we don't need to do as much of that. And then the third piece, the governance piece, there's been this movement to put social, some people say socialist, but people's social agenda on corporate boards. And that's not who you want on a corporate board. You want people on a corporate board who can help you build the business. They may understand the market, the product. They may understand international things. You have former CEOs, things like that. Those people have been kept out of the boardroom. And so we need to radically rethink who's on these boards of directors and get people interested in the business. A market that's down 20, 30, 40% is going to be the discipline I think these companies need to say, wait a second, this other stuff's pretty frivolous. We got to get back to business.
Are you finding that there's a growth in, I call it this alternative economy, where you're seeing more of these conservative type of companies, whether they enter this technology space, the financial services space? Are they going to be able to compete with these more liberal woke companies?
Oh, I think so. Yeah. I mean, it just depends. But everything, it's we've seen this with social media. It's so hard to get to scale in a social media company. And so they're just, there are laws of economics, regardless of your politics, that make it hard to be a new entrant and compete against somebody that's already scaled up like a Google or any of those. So but I don't think their ideology is going to matter one way or the other. If they've got a good product or better service, enough people want it, they'll succeed.
Well, Bill Walton, I want to thank you for joining me on America Uncanceled. And I also want to say, don't forget to watch the Bill Walton Show. It is on CPAC now every Monday. And I got to tell you, it's like it's almost like taking a college course, but not a woke college course. So Thank you, Bill, so much.
But it's a 101 course. It's not an advanced course. Everybody can get it. Everybody
I
can
feel
get
much
it.
smarter when I listen to it. So thank you so much for joining me.
Great. Thanks.
And thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to follow what's happening at CPAC Mexico this weekend on our website, cpac.org/Mexico. Everything starts Friday at 10 a.m. and also will be going through Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern. So don't forget, you can live stream, watch what's happening there. And also don't forget, you can go to listen to us on any of the podcasts on CPAC now. So thank you so much.